the Monetary Policy Committee. Now, let's just quickly give another background as to what analysts have been saying about this latest decision. Now, they expect rates to remain unchanged at around 12%. Now, the committee says the committee may hike rates, citing expansionary fiscal policy, inflation, and fuel subsidy removal. Now, we also saw the December Consumer Price Index dropping to 10.3% year-on-year from around 10.5%. Some of the benefits, according to some analysts, over some of the policies taken by the Central Bank of Nigeria, particularly its fight against inflation. Now, they said there will also be plans for an upward revision of oil price in the 2012 budget to $75 from around $70 per barrel. That, they say, is to be watched. Is going to be a key element in for these members when they're deciding on whether or not to hike rates. Of course, demand for FX is also expected to drop on part removal of the fuel subsidy. Of course, the central bank had been or continues to complain about the surge in demand for dollars at its bi-weekly auction, particularly from importers, those who are importing refined fuel. Of course, Femi is still here, and we're looking at the MPC for today. Thank you, Femi, for sticking around. Now, we're talking about striking a balance. We're talking about how growth is still being affected or not, as it should be in terms of some of the decisions that the central bank has been taking. Yeah. Now, at what point can we, because year in, year out, whenever every MPC comes, it's the same issues we'll talk about. Growth is not where it's supposed to be. Central bank seems to be concentrating more on inflation. There's high unemployment rates. They just concluded the World Economic Forum. Okay. At the end of that meeting on Saturday, most of the leaders agree that job creation should be the #1 priority for all of the economies. Now, we seem to be having an unemployment crisis. Spain just announced last Friday that it now has 5 million unemployed youth. We know that right here in Nigeria, our unemployment rate has hit 23%. So it should be a top priority focus for government. So for the Central Bank of Nigeria, I know it's a decision-making body, at least monetary-wise. How can the central bank? What kind of policies can the central bank take to ensure that, at least for the unemployment front, that can be brought down, at least significantly?
I think the first thing first is the monetary authority had to see itself as part of the government as a whole. And every action, every decision they want to take must be in line with the instruction that is coming from the fiscal policy. Now, the CBN is quick to remind us that it's autonomous from the Ministry of Finance. No doubt about that. But are you still autonomous from the coordinator of the economy? I don't think so. So if the coordinator of the economy say, we want a low interest rate.
Well, that's it's funny you say that, because that's what Dr. Ngozi said recently. Okay.
Exactly. But when the CBN governor got to Davos, he's saying that, well, yes, we will try as much as possible to make interest low, but if we notice that the federal government is being expansionary, revise the budget and expansionary, we will tighten.
But from all indications, I think it's obvious that there will definitely be an expansionary budget for 2012.
So the question to ask to me is, so what is the target of the federal government? If the government says, I want to expand, but I want to use it to create economic growth, I want to create employment, CBN should not stumble that, should not come there and say, no, we have to tighten because no, it doesn't work that way. Look, I give an example of the Bank of England. Sir Mervyn King. When they had the last MPC, I remember in October last year, they looked at the economy and they said, you know what, we need to reinflate this economy. We need to pump in money so that we can improve productivity and improve consumption so that whatever is produced can be consumed anyway. And they look at the MPC and say, we have to do this, but it's going to affect our inflation target. That's because government gave them a target. Maybe you guys shouldn't do more than 2.5% inflation. And they wrote a letter to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Sir, we need to pump the economy with some money. We are thinking of releasing £75 million into the economy immediately, blah, 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 blah. But this is going to affect our inflation target. What do you think? The guy said, please, the core thing is that we help the economy first. The inflation thing is just a figure that we are putting on our head. If inflation is going to be 10% and the economy is going to grow, everybody will be happy, let it be. And they approved it. Now, in our own case, I don't know the target that was given to the CBN, and I doubt if they didn't target anyway. It looks as if everybody just plucked target and say, we must do 10%. It has to be single digits. The same CBN that said we are targeting 8.5% in 2012 is telling us that even the fuel increase removal, worst thing you can see is if you do total removal, we get 14 to 15% in the middle of the year, and it's still something we can live with. Then I'm having trouble. We said it to target, and we saying all this. The thing about it is that, what's even the business of CBN with the fuel removal and the first time? Why are you talking about it? Your own is look at it. Okay,
yeah, but because if that's going to encourage or bring him more money into the economy, like I said earlier in the other part of the interview, the central bank has a responsibility.
How will it bring more money into the economy? I don't understand. The same money that is being taken away from the people, from the angle. Yes, it's going to create a lot of things because you know the way these things is, price will jump up because it's going to affect a lot of other things, and then there will be
consumer price index.
But the question is, yes, do we want the inflation to make everybody happy so that there will be growth, there will be economy, the work will be everywhere? Yes, we want it. So, like you said, the priority should be how do we help employment? How do we make sure that employment grow? For example, now we are reviewing we are struggling the banking industry. Unfortunately, we are losing more jobs than even creating new one. So, what that tells me now is that we might still be losing out when it comes to employment. By 2010, employment was 2.9%, 21.9% unemployment rate. By 2011 October, MMBSA has gone to like 23.9 or something. I mean, what is this? Now, last few days ago, some banks have started letting some people go. There's tendency that about twice that number will have to go on voluntary resignation this week, the way it's looking from that place. Now, is that where we are supposed to be?
Okay, so
now, look at it from this angle. The EU and some of the emerging markets they were complaining that they are causing global problem and everything. We have found out that now the next thing on the table now is that the austerity measure they adopted isn't that it's causing trouble. And therefore, they had to reinflate the economy. In 2010, early 2010, World Bank was shouting, please don't start pulling out your bailout fund from this economy because it's too early to do that. So why are we now tightening everything and making it difficult for ourselves?
Okay, so how do we, in terms of boosting the manufacturing sector, which should be a major contributor, but is not, because of some of our structural problems, such as, power and all of that, bad roads, boosting the manufacturing sector, agricultural sector. I know a number of measures have been taken by the federal government, at least for this year, in terms of money allocated to those sectors. Now, for the central bank, what kind of decision do you see being taken today? Do you think, let me ask you this question outright, do you think the MPC members will hike rates, keep rates steady, and perhaps some other decisions looking at some sectors of the economy, the critical ones, particularly manufacturing, as regards spurring employment?
Well, I mean, the immediate thing that I think is going to happen is that they are going to retain the rate and all the macroprudential measures at this time. This is in consonance with what the CBN governor even said himself in Davos, that that's likely going to happen and everything like that. But the reason for that is not just because of that. Because when you look at their most important objective, inflation, credit growth, foreign exchange stability, and positive return on fixed income instrument, they have achieved them. Inflation has moderated to 10.3% from about 12.1% in January 2011. We have credit growth that grown by 26% by the year. Fixed income instrument, they are having about positive return about 4 to 5%. Now, credit growth, they said 26% has gone in credit growth. That's what I'm saying. So, foreign exchange ability, to a large extent, it has been stable since they moved to 155. It has been working within demand. Now, people are complaining that, demand is risen to $360. Yeah. For us, last 2 months or 3 months ago, we are having demand in excess of 400 million. So, when we put it together about the last time that they did that aggressive tightening, it's still lower. And therefore, because all these moderation that they have, stability they have experienced in all the indices that they are looking at, the best thing for them to do is leave the rate as it is. However, like I said, there are some other objectives that they are not focusing on. Creating employment, making local capacity. But the members
always mention that in terms of creating employment. But I'm not sure about the policies that have been in support of that.
That's what I'm saying. The only member, one of the members in the minority section of the members that always talk about reduced interest rate or staying the MPR, they keep saying it.
But they are usually in the minority.
The minority. We need to trade off. Stop putting things in favor of the foreign investor. When are we going to move away from this? The banking sector, we say foreign investors will come and invest in banking sector. How many of them have come? We keep saying we want to maintain foreign exchange stability. We want to attract foreign investors on our market. The reason why we're having all this dip in the market is because we rely too much on foreign investors. Foreign investors,
but we need them if we're going to have a foreign direct investment.
They should not be the main decider of what's happening to us. We need to make sure that our local capacity compete favorably with them. As it is now, the reason why we are losing out of the equity market is because foreign investors are not coming. See, my own is that no Western investor will come to a country that have a lot of instability or uncertainty. See, when you increase interest rate and fixed income instruments start going up in rate, it affects people that are holding it already. If these guys have bought fixed income bond at 11%, you increase the rate and make the thing to go to 13%, they have lost because the price will drop immediately. Federal government itself, when you want to raise the next bond, it will be at a higher cost. So the next budget will be paying more as debt servicing, affecting our capital budget. we are hurting ourselves. That's my opinion. All this thing is opinionated. We need to sit down, trade off.
Okay, Femi, going forward, we're almost completely out of time now. This is just the first MPC meeting for this year, and we're just in January, and we may have a couple, depending on how economic activities in the economy unfold. But the central bank has made one thing clear, that if the federal government takes up a higher budget, has more spending, it will continue to raise rates. So do we see rates going to as high as 50, perhaps 15% this year?
Well, you see, the thing about it is that we can't say for sure. The reason for that is that all these things are in between. For example, the CBN is saying that, okay, now inflation rate might get to up to 14 to 15%. That's at 141 naira pump price. Now we're having 97 naira, which in implication it means that the interest rate might not go more than 12 to 30%.
Okay, Femi, so hold your thoughts for us. We need to take a call from David Andorin, who's calling live from the trading floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Good morning, David.
Good morning. Happy to be with you this morning.
Okay, could you quickly give us an update on what direction the market is trading this morning?
Right now, the all-share index is up by 0.09%. Let me quickly run through the various sectors of the market. Food and beverages up by 0.19%. NSE 30 up by 0.14%. Oil and gas down heavily by 1.29%. Insurance down heavily also by 2.27%. While the banking sector is up by 0.5%.
Now, David, I need to ask you this. What's the sudden, because yesterday many of the sectoral indexes ended in negative territory, but the banking index was up 1.07%. What's the reason for this sudden appetite for bank stocks?
That's because most of the banks have December 31st at year end. And any moment from now, they will start releasing their results.
Okay.
Judging from their performance in the third quarter of last year, it is expected that their end of year will be very impressive.
Okay, so basically investors are just just positioning themselves for at least gains in the long run after these results are released.
Exactly, so that is what is happening. Investors are taking firm positions in those historic.
Okay, David, we do not have much time this morning to take more information from the market, but we do appreciate your calling from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Thank you so much for the figures that you have given us at this time. I've been talking to David Andorin, a stockbroker at calling live from the trading floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and most of the indices right now are in the red except for the banking index, which is currently up about 2.5%. He says, of course, some of the banks will begin to release some of their quarterly earnings, and investors are positioning themselves. Many of the bank stocks still have very attractive valuations at this time. I'm still talking to Olufemi Ademola, a research analyst from BGL Group. We're just about a few minutes to the end of the program now. It's just on the final note, we're almost completely out of time. Do you think the central bank, because I know many analysts have been talking, and I want to believe that perhaps the central bank has been listening also. I know many times the central bank is usually faced between the devil and the deep blue sea, trying to balance fiscal and monetary, at the same time. But what would you say to the central bank going forward in shaping its decisions as regards its monetary policies?
A very simple thing. What I would say is they should consider the minority view of those other members of the MPC.
Okay.
We need to do some trade-off between attracting foreign investment and improving local economic capacity. We need to do trade-off within economic growth, local economic growth, and inflation. We need to ensure that people can access interest at a very low rate. I mean, that's very key. Whatever we need to do to make sure that we support that and make sure that unemployment rate goes down, that is the core that you should do now.
All right, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your contribution. Thank you so much, Olufemi Ademola. He's a research analyst from BGL PLC, one of Nigeria's top investment banks. And we have been looking at the Monetary Policy Committee. And of course, members, in a few hours from now, will reach that decision. Stay with Channels Television as we'll bring you an update of the decision of that meeting. Well, it's a wrap on Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Esther Obodaga. Channels News Track is at the top of the hour. Bye for now.